What's up guys, welcome back to Code Wizard, and in today's video we're going to talk about how to install ESLint in VS Code. What I have here is a sample project with a couple JavaScript files, and what we're going to do is we're going to install ESLint, set up the configuration, and any of these mistakes in the code you'll see here, like missing semicolon, ESLint will call these out so we can fix them. And this is a very helpful tool to avoid a lot of these redundant syntax and formatting errors. So before we get going with ESLint, there's a couple prerequisites that you need in order to use ESLint. The first thing is you need to have Node.js installed. To make sure that you have Node.js installed, you want to open up the terminal, and I'm going to use the built-in VS Code terminal here. So on the top right, you'll see this little toggle panel. If you click on that, it should open up a little terminal window at the bottom, and you're just going to type in node-v and press enter. So you can see I have Node version 20 installed. So you do need at least a Node version 18 installed in order to get ESLint to work. So if you don't have Node installed, just go over to the Node.js website, which is nodejs.org, and install Node. So now that we have Node installed, the next thing we want to do is initialize npm. So you can see my project, I have one directory here with two JavaScript files. We want to initialize npm using npm init-y, press enter, and you can see it created a package.json file for us. So now it's time to install ESLint. So to install ESLint, we're going to type in npm install ESLint. I'm going to do -- save dev, and the reason for this is because this is a developer dependency, not production. So we're going to press enter, and now go to the install process to install ESLint. Now you can see it installed. If you go to package.json and scroll down, you can see what version ESLint it installed. Now the next thing we need to do is initialize ESLint. I'm going to type in npx ESLint -- and this will initialize the ESLint configuration. I'm going to press yes. So ask you this next question: how would you like to use ESLint? To check syntax only or to check syntax and find problems? We're going to use to check syntax and find problems. And then it will ask you what type of modules does your project use. We're going to do JavaScript modules. And then which framework does your project use? We're going to select none of these. But of course, if your project uses React or Vue, select those. It'll ask if your project uses TypeScript. We're going to select no. And it's going to ask you, where does your code run, browser or Node? I'm just going to select Node for now. And then they will ask you the config that you select requires the following dependencies, so we can install those as well. I'm going to use npm. So once that process is complete, you're going to see a new file here where it says eslint.config. If you click on that, this is where we're going to basically put all of our rules in order for ESLint to work. So before we do that, though, the other thing we want to do is, because we're using VS Code, is we want to install the VS Code ESLint extension. So to do that, we're going to come over here to extensions, and then if you just search ESLint, it's the one by Microsoft. So click on that and click on install. And then once ESLint is installed, I'm going to close this out. And then if you come back over here to your index.js file here, you're going to actually see ESLint working. So you can see it underlined unused variable. And if you hover your mouse over it, it'll say unused variable is declared, but its value is never read. So this is an error that, or I should say, this is a mistake in your code that you want to avoid. Therefore, ESLint is highlighting this for you to fix it. So you basically can just remove this, and you can save, and then you can see now your file is no longer in red. Now if you go over here to do the to-do.js file, you can see this one also has an issue. If I hover my mouse over this, unused helper is declared, but its value is never read. So we can remove this as well to get rid of the ESLint error. And that's it. So now both files look good. They've both linted. The next thing I want to talk about is this eslint.config file. There's a couple things that you want to know. So this is where you add the different rules for ESLint. Now, it already comes in with some built-in rules. So for example, the unused variable rule is already built in here from plugin.js.configs.recommended. So that already contains that. So if I want to define additional rules, I can actually define it in this array here. So we can type a comma and then call out rules. And in rules, we're going to define the rules that we want. So let's say we want double quotes instead of single quotes. You can just call out for quotes, and then we're going to have ESLint create an error for double. And this will enforce double quotes. So now anytime we don't use double quotes, it will give us an error. So if I come back here to like index.js and then go ahead and change this to single quotes in this console.log and save the file, you can see now ESLint is calling out an error and it says strings must use double quote. So basically I change this back to double quotes and ESLint will no longer complain. So that's it. That's how you install ESLint and actually set up the config file. For additional rules, you can go to the ESLint documentation. I'll put a link in the description below, and there's plenty other rules that you can define here. And you'll find that ESLint is extremely helpful when it comes to maintaining coding patterns and the way that you set up your repositories and type your code. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Like the video, subscribe, and thanks for watching.